Hi, today I'm going to do a arbitrary interlude video because I don't really have anything else completely fleshed out right this minute. Um, my last couple videos I'd like to comment on and talk about what I'm going to be doing going forward, and then just some general stuff going on with me, this crazy world we live in, etc. Very last video I did, which I posted yesterday, was another blue review, first one in a while, where I talked about a couple of recent uh, finds of mine on Blu-ray that Lorber was having a 50% off everything sale. So I found two items that I didn't even know were on Blu-ray, much less at that price. The Diary of a Mad Housewife and Puzzle of a Downfall Child, two new Hollywood films from 1970, both kind of what some of the sources call experimental drama. Both of them I really love. I screened for myself Puzzle of a Downfall Child, partially while I was doing the video last evening. So I'll be able to do a formal review of the two of them once I watch Diary of a Mad Housewife, which hopefully I'll be able to get to in the next couple of days. In about a week, I'm going to be back to the TV musing, and I'll be doing parts 3 and 4 of the Star Trek series, the current run of Star Trek series on CBS All Access, which I think is getting ready to change to Paramount Plus. All this rebranding, like the DC Universe shows, became went over to HBO Max or became rebranded as HBO Max. So now you have the same thing with CBS All Access is being rebranded as Paramount Plus. I guess Paramount and CBS I guess CBS owns Paramount or Paramount owns CBS. I can't keep track anymore of these megalithic corporate dinosaurs. They're just getting larger and larger, but not too big to fail, as we have been seeing recently, hopefully. Which brings me to my video I did before that called What is Truth? It's kind of a new offshoot of video, like I was doing these soul-bearing videos, where just tell me where I'm kind of at internally. I had a pretty severe crash in December, and I've just gradually been crawling my way back up into the light or some semblance of it. It's taken me over a month to get through this. I guess 6 weeks from the beginning of the worst of it. My doctor wrote me out of my day job from December 11th, 2020 to January 2nd, 2021. So I've been back at the day job now for almost a month. I've worked kind of intermittently. I still missed a fefew days due to some illness here and there. And then I had this insane flooding in my downstairs bathroom, which, I spent $100 to get a guy to come out and give me a prognosis. And prognosis was that, this toilet, you're going to have to pull it. It's never going to behave right because of the system that pumps the stuff. I've had two problems with it in the past since I've lived here. So one was kind of like waiting to happen, and I guess I triggered it a few years ago here. And then one was triggered by my ex-roommate, my former tenant and friend. I'm not sure what he did, but it created a problem that just I had to keep using stopgap measures. One of the many, many litany of things my ex-fiance was unhappy about living here, but I didn't quite have enough money to or know how to do it, and she wasn't bringing any of either to the table on that matter. So it just, rather than us put our heads together and just be patient, she sat on top of it and with the rest of her festering resentments that I didn't know about until the day she left. So, it's just a never ending. it's a war of attrition, man. Relationships is like a war of attrition, and sometimes that's the very finest you can ask for. The question is, do we deserve more? Well, or can we get more? Man, I've been grappling with those for longer than some of my viewers here have been on planet Earth. Some of my viewers, some of my most faithful viewers are rather young folks, millennials, which give me a little hope for the future. Not because they're my viewers, but because of their general integrity and enlightened state of mind. I can name names, but I'll do that at the end of the video. At the end of the video, I want to make sure I thank some people, and I want to make sure that I do the usual please subscribe kind of stuff. I've been forgetting both of those, so please remind me. I'm not sure how you're going to remind me right now, but my psychic, whatever. So everything that doesn't end up in one of these categories, like the soul bearing and the blue review and the TV musing, are going to kind of get the info dump is going to go over here to these arbitrary interludes. So yeah, this will be number 9. And they seem to be my most popular videos overall, like the most watched and thumbed up. I'm not sure, people, I guess, I mean, I appreciate it. The people actually want to just hear me talk. Seriously, that is like a big deal. It's pretty flattering, and I'd like more of it, but what I have, I'm very, very appreciative of. Not everybody I know is going to be interested in all the different interests I have. So the overlap or common denominator, I guess, on my channel is me, which brings me to my, next subset of videos, which I haven't named yet, but they're kind of my more socio-politically conscious strain. I've only done 2 really. One was called What is Freedom, and one was called What is Truth. I've already sketched out the next one. It's going to probably take too much out of me time-wise and energy-wise to do that one tonight, and I still want to tie together some thoughts before I jump into it. What I wanted to say about the last one, called What is Truth, is that, I was overall happy with it. It was pretty caustic at times, but again, it was true. It was coming from within me and my observations, and they're careful. They're not, I guess my gist of these videos, and one of the gists of them, is that I don't need, at my age and level of education, mostly autodidact education, admittedly, self-education, is that I don't need the media or the government or a corporation to tell me how to process events. I've kind of earned that right by hard time on planet Earth, and I've worked some full-time jobs for most of my life. I've been in the mental hospital a couple of times. I've struggled with a lot of health problems, various physical, as I've gotten older. Mental health issues since I was a little child, and now I'm just a little man. And various loss in the last 10 years or so, 12 years maybe. I've lost my mother, my father, several pets, and a couple of cats that I grew up with. Well, one of them actually I lost before, but I didn't know he was deceased until within the last 12-year period. So that's just the people who've died, the entities that have died. Living entities, I've lost some of my best friends of recent years, and I lost my ex-wife to the death of divorce, and my last 3 involvements, someone I cared about a great deal, and then my ex-fiance, who I was going to marry Halloween of 2018. And then most recently, I've been involved with someone for a short time here, very recent. I mean, I've known her quite a while, but and helped me a great deal out of my ongoing funk regarding the ex-fiance, which has been a deep wound, the deepest wound I've had. I think losing a couple of my cats is the only loss that have come even remotely close to that. And that's not to, say that various other deaths and separations, permanent separations from humans and animals haven't affected me. They definitely have. It really is the accretion of loss of such people, of the living people. I guess by the time they started dying off, I was a little more stoic. I was kind of prepared. Like my mother was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1999. It took her 10 long years to pass, rarely improving, usually slight improvements and then vast declines. But her onset was so fast initially that I kind of grieved her well before she physically passed away, because she was no longer mentally and emotionally the person that I know of. It's hard when you're in that state to express yourself to people. Sometimes literally hard, because that stuff starts to affect your muscles and your ability to speak. I mean, she could speak all the way to the end, but it was sometimes a struggle for her to do and for others to understand. I usually was an interpreter. I could usually translate what she was saying to someone else. I would kind of, that's when she was staying with us for a while in the mid 2000s. But I had to consign her to a nursing home in 2004. That was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, and definitely in the top five. But she passed in 2009, just a couple months after I met my ex-wife, actually, and we were already engaged. So the 2000s were kind of a mixed bag for me. Here I go. I'm on the soul bearing thing. I need to kind of, what my ex-fiance used to say when I have endless digressions, as I want to do, as any of my regular viewers can tell you. She would be like reeling you in with the fishing rod. So she had a lot of endearing qualities, which I've waxed about incessantly and maudlin on here. I'm not real happy with her at the moment, though. There were a lot of things that this latest person that I was involved with made me aware of. That person did, and then the being involved with, and the being able to talk freely about these things, because I haven't had the ideal therapist here in the last couple of years. I'm starting a new therapist actually tomorrow, finally. I was going to this past week, but I got sick. I didn't go down to do the paperwork and everything at this new place. Going allegedly tomorrow, if I can get it together. It's not close to my house, and that's a financial drain, which I need very little of these days. Buying the 2 on sale Blu-rays was like, I felt like riddled with guilt for days, even though I had enough money. I'm like, bills are coming up. I don't have my W-2s yet, and of course, as I mentioned a bit in my last politically oriented video, the what is truth. This leader who keeps equivocating from over there in the Capitol. He's not seeing that money, man. I mean, immediately has a different meaning when you're a rich, powerful oligarch than it does to people who literally immediately need it. So I've come full circle. So let me just real quick wrap up what I was going to say about that video. I'm proud of it, but there were things that I since I didn't really have anything written down or whatever, I just had some composed thoughts, but not completely tied together in time. I just kind of winged it, because I went into the video not quite sure I was going to do that kind of video. So the first little bit, I'm talking about fanbro websites, as I call them, and their horrific coverage of television, comics, and media that I enjoy, film, etc. To be honest, they're kind of like, they're a microcosm of the media. The state-owned arm, the Ministry of Information, except they're on like a microcosmic scale. Sites like Screen Rant and Cinema Blend and Newsarama and IO9 and Bleeding Cool. They're not all equally bad. They're all bad, but they're not all. Some are better than others. Screen Rant is about the most egregious one that I keep getting notifications inexplicably for, or people sharing on my timeline to the point where I have to just I have to unfollow certain people I'm in film and media groups with because they keep sharing this nonsense and it keeps popping up on my feed, which I've been trying to avoid. But lately, as bad as it's been, there's been a small comfort to Facebook, which is one of its allures, and I'm addicted. I admit. I walked away from the news feed pretty heavily after the election. This last election was seeded, and I don't mean the actual election that caused ostensibly caused the conflict. Uh, the siege recently. I'm talking about the primary election, the Democratic primary election. When that was seeded, and I read the reactions of people, and I was profoundly disappointed. Um, a lot of those people I wasn't disappointed in because I expected nothing from after hearing their uh, odious views for the last 5 years. But some people I was genuinely surprised and disappointed, disillusioned, and by the choices some of our, here we go again, leaders, choices they made and how to handle the primary situation and with COVID and everything else raging, massive election fraud. Sorry, that's what happened. I mean, you have a primary election and it just ends before half the states have even tried to vote. But miraculously, they were able to do this incredible haul for mail-in voting in time for the general election. No mobilization to do that whatsoever in the primary, and the people running didn't call for it. Well, most of them didn't want such a thing. They wanted to just glide on through and be, selected, not elected, and that's what happened. And the only major contender and one of the only decent minor contenders and a couple of very minor contenders, there were 3 or 4 people that were heavily shafted. Only one of them spoke out. And it wasn't the major contender, unfortunately. And then she was silenced for some reason, either voluntarily or involuntarily, or, they threatened to kill her dog. I don't know what happened. I'll get more into that in future of those kind of videos. I don't know what I'm going to call those kind of videos. I do want to clarify in the next video. It's going to be kind of a follow-up to the last one, and that was like, what is truth? So I don't know exactly what it's going to be called at this juncture. I make this shit up as I go along, obviously. And I think the quality shows it, and you take that as good or bad. But it has to do with the consequences of truth. I didn't want anyone. People are going to think what they're going to think, but it's my duty doing these to be as articulate and clear as possible about what I am bringing to the table, and not giving people ammo against me because they're going to shoot me down, or attempt to shoot me down anyway. So I might as well make it as hard as possible and stay a difficult target. So in the interest of that, I need to qualify going forward about the truth kind of situation. That premise is that, there are consequences to truth. There are consequences to free speech. I never intended to say otherwise. No one's called me on it so far, but I'm calling myself on it ahead before they can. I'm stealing their thunder. Sorry, haters, but there are consequences to absolute free speech. There's consequences to everything we do. I never advocated for no consequences. I never said that someone couldn't be imprisoned or, physically harmed by unhappy someone or somebody for something they've said. However, I don't believe the state should do it, should have any role on it. And again, people will argue, well, we never had absolute freedom of speech. It's just the government, can't tell you what to say. It's like, no, I'm not going to have anyone tell me what to say. Now, if I break some law or break someone's heart or I piss someone off by what I say, then there will be consequences, and I'm willing to deal with those. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people I've personally known, some very intimately, have been completely unwilling to face any consequences for their words and deeds. Some people, and then that's just a personal responsibility. maturity issue. In general, the people who get away with it are people who are very rich and powerful. They're people who are sacred cows in our culture, or who have the ability to glide above the fray, and laughing at us mere peons. And unfortunately, that's your oligarchy, your professional managerial class, your technocracy, your political class, mainstream politics. It's getting to where almost anyone who espouses politics is becoming that way, as we saw with Ms. Ocasio-Cortez. She talks a big game, but when it comes to an actual vote on something that affects millions and millions of people during a fucking global pandemic, she doesn't have it. I mean, I only used this word once or twice in that last truth video, but I may be using it a lot going forward. I try not to use it because it's kind of a tired thing, coming up with like punk rockers like I did. I mean, you used to hear this phrase all the time, this descriptor, but it is true. I mean, these people who do this to us are sellouts. I mean, they have sold a piece of their soul for comfort, convenience, or cash, and or they're either just corrupted, or they are intimidated into going on with the game lest some harm befall them or their beloveds. And for the life of me, sometimes people make these decisions, and I'm aghast a little bit. You'll have decisions made by someone that are supported by a large swath of the populace on all ostensibly sides of the fence, and they will not go under. And is someone holding a gun to your mate's head? Is someone blowing up, getting ready to blow your house apart? Kill your dog? I'm confused. Like, why? You have this mass support. That's what you're in office for, to serve those very constituents. And then when it's right down to the wire, you continue to abet the interests of the corporatocracy, and you fold to the establishment. And my I don't have many heroes, and especially they're more artists are my heroes generally, not necessarily because of their personal lives, just their work. Politics, it's really their work too. I don't consider them leaders, I consider them public servants. But some of them have been heroic stature to me, and a lot of that has to do with bravery, consistency, and integrity. Consistency was something George Carlin advocated for constantly with people. A great prophet, right? R.I.P. And nowadays you're getting people like Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald, Dylan Radigan, Crystal Ball. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other incredible ones. To an extent, Tim Black. Alternative media figures, Chris Hedges, who are basically saying, let's not, we need not lionize, canonize, deify these people as heroes. They need to do their job, and they need some consistency here. They need to keep their track, create a track, craft a track record, forge one, and then stay in line. Very few people who work in the area of American politics have done that with any degree of anything in the last several decades. Bernie Sanders is a major exception, though recently his judgment is all over the map. It's not that he's not still fighting for us, the people. I think he is, but there's some mysterious factors going on. It could be a number of things. Maybe I'll theorize in another video. I haven't really touched on Bernie too much in these videos, hardly at all, because it is a sore subject, because Bernie supporters from 2015 on have been demonized, dehumanized, harassed, gaslighted, threatened, assaulted on every turn, every front, for 5.5 solid fucking years. We'll say 5 years, because Bernie capitulated during the primaries. It doesn't matter right now in this video. We'll talk about another time why he did it, but it was indeed done, and he has continued to do that. And that's not the stuff of a hero, man. You know, Bernie is a human and he's a politician, therefore he is inherently, possibly inherently corrupt, definitely inherently open to corruption. You know, he knows he's a smart man. He knows that's what's happening. There's a risk he's going to be corrupted. So he said a lot of things earlier in his career that were kind of like, uh, you know, present Bernie talking to future Bernie, talking to supporters about future Bernie, like, hey, you know, don't listen to this guy. I'm not that guy anymore. You know, that's the guy I'm going to be. I'm going to sell out. So remember what I'm doing right now is right. And you can question that guy. He's planted a lot of seeds like this along the way, and viewed in that lens, with that lens, and that's the way he kind of has covered his ass pretty well. Like the famous one is where he said, "If anyone ever tells you how to vote, don't listen to them, even if it's me." And I think he was foreseeing future Bernie being swallowed by the machine. This, you know, like going into the jaws of corruption and lying in the belly of the beast and being digested. Um, you know, it's like he's telling us, hey, it's going to happen. So be ready. Build a movement that's not about me, but about these ideals. He changed the world. That's one man who changed the world in recent years. He completely changed the conversation, flipped the script. I'm not saying it's changed anything concretely in our day-to-day lives for the better, but another phrase me and my ex-fiance and I used to use a lot, especially about societal, social, and personal evolution, and definitely about politics, was planting seeds. I would even put it as a hashtag, planting seeds. I did it a lot when Tulsi Gabbard was my favorite candidate for higher office, and I mean that's over now. But when she was at that level with me, and I didn't even, again, this is something that Kelly, I try not to name her, my ex fiance, said about her specifically and about Bernie specifically, is that they were planting seeds deliberately, you know, so that they weren't probably not going to be able to affect any change, and in Bernie's case, almost certainly not experience the fruits of such change in his lifetime. You know, Tulsi's half his age, and she may not see it in her lifetime, but she had a chance. She didn't cover her ass like Bernie. I mean, she kind of her story was, I was a conservative and now I'm evolving, and she was is a Hindu, and so there's a spiritual human evolution, and that's what touched me about her. It's not because she was gorgeous. Yes, she's gorgeous, but I care that, you know, we can't have an attractive woman being in office. I mean, Kamala is arguably attractive. You know, if you just look at her image, her constant laughing kind of fucks it up for her. But you know, just a static image of her with, you know, without a bizarre cackle thing going on. She's a quite handsome woman, but especially for her age, because she is far older than a lot of people think she is. And there's no crime in that. I mean, Bernie's 79, so you know. But you know, the thing about it is, she's a handsome woman at pure skin deep level. A lot of multiracial people are. But she's an ugly, horrific being. Her actions and her words and her deeds are utterly repellent. I mean, truly horrific. And you know, if by some chance you saw my last video, or this is your first, or if this is your first video you've watched of mine, before or if you have the temptation to say, hold on, I've got to fix my television. It's acting crazy. Hope I hit the right button. I did. Sorry. Watching a movie in the background. Before anyone is tempted to say, which I get this like daily, being in social media, what about Trump? Well, Trump is an ugly fucker. I reamed him over the coals thoroughly in my last video. What is true? And there's nothing true about that clown. but I can state this, as I said then, I can state this calmly. I've categorized Trump. He's worthless crap. So now we can move forward, but people don't want to. They're hung up on it. I mean, I'm already hearing people blame everything that's happening right this very fucking minute that had no direct causal ties to Trump and his personal actions or legislation or whatever, blaming him for things, using him as an excuse. Biden's fucking up because of Trump. I don't know, man. I mean, they aren't saying Biden's fucking up because, the dominant narrative is Biden is God. He's God. And all I heard constantly during 2016 about Mr. Sanders is an old white man isn't going to fix anything. We need to get rid of that model, throw it out the window. And then the same people are voting for Biden and supporting Biden and calling Biden a savior. At first, the people were just facetiously calling him a savior, but I've seen some crazy memes on the internet. I mean, he's achieved a Christ-like status. It's pretty nauseating. I'm laughing rather than raging or crying. Those are my options. Those are my defaults. Laughing, crying, or raging. I think in my last politically oriented video, I was raging a bit. I did laugh a bit. I didn't cry. Crying is really what I'm feeling inside about the situation. I just, like Johnny Cash, Johnny Cash, Nick Cave. I'm kicking against the pricks because that's the only way I can just not collapse into a puddle and give up and then cede defeat, like some of our leaders have done recently. So what else is going on with me? I'm watching The Green Slime. I think it's 1968 by Kenji Fukasaku, and it's very little Japanese about it. It kind of reminiscent in some ways of the Ishiro Honda movies where he was kind of using American actors and non-Japanese actors, like King Kong versus Godzilla, King Kong Escapes, that kind of stuff. The thing about Green Slime is it has a cool, funky opening theme song that's totally incongruous with the movie, but that's one of the movie's redeeming qualities. Problem with it is Costco is a much more Japanese director than Honda, for instance. I mean, Honda scored worldwide crossover success with the Kaiju Iga films he did starting in the early 50s. Well, 1954 with Gojira or Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which I reviewed on this channel for Halloween last year. Fukasaku's not good with this stuff. He's not good with this stuff working with non-Japanese cast and crew and production units like Warner Brothers. I'm sure he would be just as great, if not greater, than Honda because he's a greater filmmaker as far as pure cinema goes. But he's, Honda's specialty was this kind of, this awe-inspiring kind of film. Even though the effects sometimes were a little dodgy, there was a sense of awe and wonder. It appealed to children, but it really appealed to everybody. Those are some great movies, and a lot of them have a lot more text and subtext going on than you see at first glance. Gojira is still, no wonder it was selected for the Criterion Collection. Now, they did do all of the Godzilla films from the original studio in a box set, which I want, but no one can afford to buy. Well, I can't afford to buy. My buddy Tim Tolbert, I think he got it. Rock on. That's a shout. My first shout out of the night, Tim Tolbert. Tim Tolbert, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Tolbert. Sorry. King of comedy flash there. Yeah, Gojira is a classic though of cinema. Just it's a brilliant movie on all levels. The King of the Monsters cut is a little jarring. Still not bad at all, but it's just you have to reset your brain a little bit to catch it on its own terms. But That was what was fed to us as kids. Gojira, the real original cut is a revelation when you finally see it, and I have the Criterion edition. And sorry, before I go geek out on all the specs on that again, back to Green Slime. Green Slime is, it's not just that it's non-Japanese; it's aggressively non-Japanese. It's almost anti-Japanese. I'm not saying it has any anti-Japanese sentiment, but let me give you a little background. The reason this is kind of an international co-production and there's some production overlap here is this the last film of the series, the Gamma 1 or Gamma 3, I can't remember, series that takes place on this kind of like futuristic space station. And 4 of these movies were done in Italy by Antonio Margheriti. Italy had its own strain of science fiction film, very legitimate, very low budget. Production values, though, sometimes were very high, like Bava's classic Planet of the Vampires. It's hard to beat that one. Margheriti's films sometimes looked shoddy, but sometimes looked very cool. He made the most of what he had. He was creative. They have a very strong charm to them, and some of the sets and the basic milieu was reused for Green Slime. It was originally intended to be part of that cycle officially, but again, legal stuff, creative stuff, kind of whatever. But so it's kind of the official / unofficial 5th entry in that series. It doesn't share any living, breathing characters, but the milieu is the same. Unlike those movies, though, unlike the charming Italian actors and some international actors who were in Margheriti's films, this is mostly an American cast. I think maybe some British, but definitely an Anglo cast, and they're overall pretty damn dreadful. The characters are just, not all, but almost all the characters are just insanely one-dimensional. They might be one half-dimensional. The monster, the green slime, is great, and I know you're going to think I'm joking. Maybe I'm just crazy, but we've established that a long time ago. But really, the green slime, the creature, is a better actor, performer than the majority of the white cracker crew that is on this Gamma thing. I mean, they're just like almost to a man. They're like these ugly, middle-aged, boring, boastful, crude white men, and I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm like, green slime, please eat every one of these people. Eat them, devour them, and regurgitate them on camera. And the dubbing is kind of, I don't know if some of these people dub their own language, because this was they did have cooperation with some English language factions, but I can definitely tell it was ADR. It was like post sync dubbing here with the voice acting, and a lot of these people, it's obviously not their voice, or they're just bad at dubbing themselves, or maybe just the Fukasaku's direction of these clowns was just like, just whatever. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going back to fucking Yakuza. And I mean, good God. I mean, that guy's made so many great movies, all the way from the Battles Without Honor and Humanity, all the way down to Battle Royale. I mean, he was churning brilliant shit out for like 50 years. And this was kind of early in that curve. It's kind of a weird anomaly in his oeuvre, kind of. But I mean, kind of, sort of. But I do feel like maybe he inherited this property from the Italian producers, and then there's the Warner Brothers connection, and et cetera, with distribution. And I kind of feel like he just kind of hacked his way away at it. And fortunately, he gives us a cool monster and a cool theme song. And it is, from a Mystery Science Theater 3000 viewpoint, this would be a good movie to riff, because I'm not a big fan. I'm a huge fan of the original Mystery Science Theater 3000. When I say the original, I don't just mean the one that came out years ago before the embarrassing Netflix version with all the, neoliberal subtext smashing you in the face with the force of a fucking brick. Via Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day and Neil Patrick Harris and that new guy who had the charisma of a rock. And I don't mean to insult rocks; they're pretty objects. But the original Mystery Science Theater 3000 that Joel I forgot his real name. Joel Robinson's his character. Joel, that guy, created. I'm not a huge fan of the ones dominated by Mike Nelson. And his riff tracks work. I have some very good friends who are big fans of it. It kind of leaves me cold. Sometimes it's funny. Riff tracks has gone far away from the original premise of Mystery Science Theater 3000, as in making fun of movies kind of like The Green Slime, or weaker than The Green Slime. Though occasionally they did mock actual, classy movies. Riff tracks will knock anything. They constantly are slagging great movies, are inarguably great movies. I mean, when you've got to slam on Night of the Living Dead for an hour and a half, I don't know. It makes me wonder what is your end game in this? I mean, where are you coming from? Because I get the feeling Mike Nelson just hates movies. At first, I thought he hated bad movies in a fun way, because I know Joel did, and that's cool. Or I wouldn't be suggesting, make fun of Green Slime. I'd be like, don't you make fun of Kenji Fukasaku, he's a master. Now, admittedly, I mean, Mike Nelson, the old Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater, when he took over, he was always been a writer on it. But when he took over as host and omnipresent, omniscient presence on the set, he would have probably wanted to do a movie like Green Slime. The current Mike Nelson with Earth Tracks probably would want to go ahead and tackle Battle Royale and Battles Without Honor and Humanity and Graveyard of Honor. He's like, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like the movie that kind of really got a lot of people into this. Like, I mean, we did see movies like Godzilla movies dubbed America as kids. And my generation did. That's where it all began for a lot of us. But not only that, I don't know how to put this. I also saw the Starman movies by Teruo Ishii, and I don't think they're called Starman. They're called like Super Atom Giant or something. I'm sure my buddy Sean Lee Levin can correct me on that down here in the comments. I'm just drawing a blank, and I don't feel like bringing up the cheat sheet. But I saw the Starman movies on television when I was maybe 10 years old, 11 years old. I guess it registered me they were Asian actors. Of course, they were dubbed in English. I don't think I've seen a Japanese version, Japanese dialogue, just the English. And they were fun. They're still fun. But Teruo Ishii, he was a true schizophrenic. He could shift from the Starman movies to, the most over the top, kinky violence kind of oriented movies. Kinky. I said kinky violence. I meant pinky, or pink roman porno, the pink films, pinku iga, the Japanese kind of rough softcore porn films. That subgenre. Ishii could do it effortlessly. He's kind of like Eiichi Yamamoto, who did Kimba the White Lion, and then he turned around and did Belladonna of Sadness. Both animated, but yeah. Fukasaku seems uncomfortable with this kind of material, though. And again, I think he's a hired gun. But I kind of feel like Mike Nelson, would probably ridicule his classy movies, other genre movies, and just his crime movies, etc. Because of stuff like what started this whole problem in the first place was What's Up, Tiger Lily by Woody Allen. When I saw that as a kid, I thought it was hilarious, and the obvious incongruity of him redubbing a movie that was already going to be badly dubbed into English. It was hilarious. Then Anchor Bay put it out on videotape in like '96, and I reviewed it, I believe, and give it a tiny capsule review in one of my indie file columns. And I was thrilled to finally have a copy of this movie, and I saw it first late at night when I was very young. I mean, I don't know, it might have been accidentally thrown in there by accident. I didn't know what to make of it. I knew there were Asian characters, and I knew the dubbing was funny, kind of like the Godzilla movies. That's why I mentioned those. but it was obviously taking advantage of that and making fun of it. I got that even at a young age, but of course, at that young age, I thought all Japanese movies were dubbed and they all sounded cheesy and silly. And so when I would see Kung Fu Theater on weekends, I just I thought they were entertaining, but there was a level of condescension, and I kind of feel bad about that now. Uh, but it was, it's not the fault of like Shaw Brothers directly that, and such companies, Golden Harvest, et cetera, in Hong Kong, that these movies they created, which are actually overall, sometimes even though they're budgetarily challenged, were very well crafted and sound great in the original Cantonese or even Mandarin languages. But they ended up being, you know, cropped, pan and scanned, bad transfer, horrific dubbing, and that's how we saw those movies for the first time. Other than Enter the Dragon, which was the Warner Brothers co-production, so everybody spoke in English in that. Even the actors that needed to be dubbed, they kind of tried to make it as smooth as possible. The other Bruce Lee movies, if you happen to see them on TV when you were a kid, they were badly dubbed and pan and scan and etc. I didn't see any of the other ones. I only saw parts of Enter the Dragon on television as a kid. I didn't actually properly see Enter the Dragon until probably the mid '90s. But it was a pretty good, respectable print. It was complete and as intended, etc. But I didn't really see any real. The Bruce Lee movies I rented in the late '90s all were kind of bad presentations. I enjoyed them though, and then it was a while. I got into Shaw Brothers relatively late compared to a lot of cult fanatics. I mean, people like my good buddy. Another shout out. I did Sean Lee Levin, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Lee Levin, ladies and gentlemen. His amazing father, which I've nicknamed Daddy-O. Stephen Levin, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Levin. This guy's been to the Asian genre stuff for decades. He is a maestro of this field. He gave me like almost complete collection of his Asian trash cinema and related kind of zines when I went to visit Sean and Stephen in Chicago in 2017. Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, Chicago. Sorry, I'm getting silly. I'm gonna have to break this off. I don't want to ruin my austere reputation here. I got to keep the deadpan on. So I'm way afield. I didn't mean to do a big review on the green slime, so I'm going to have to note that in the notes here that I reviewed the green slime. I didn't really talk about the plot, but like I said, it's on a space station in the future, and there's a green slime that's killing and devouring people, and there's a lot of like really disturbingly faux macho white men like clamoring around like morons, and it's MST3K fodder. And to clarify my point earlier, because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings as a fan of Mystery Science Theater, including my good friend Sean Lee Levin. Sean Lee Levin, ladies and gentlemen, is that I love the original with Joel's show. I absolutely adore it. One of my favorite shows. It might not be in my top 10 like Sean. It's like probably in my top 20. So many great newer TV shows have kind of supplanted some of my older favorites in recent years because we're in a quality era for television. Even as mainstream cinema continues to get dubious. Foreign and independent cinema still has a lot of gems, especially companies like A24. I just mentioned them. This is like an in joke for me and my friend Tim Tolbert. Tim Tolbert, ladies and gentlemen. That's the last time, I promise. A24 is a label that a production company, distributor, whatever. I noticed several years ago when they first started, and that became a sign of quality for me when I would see that logo at the beginning of a movie. Now they've gotten to where they pushed out a ton of product, and when I say pushed out, I mean their quality control has loosened up a bit, and a lot of the stuff is really more geared towards maybe a different generation than mine, maybe a different film sensibility. And Tim and I have discussed this. Tim is of that generation, but he's also very enjoys things from the past, far past, and he's also very visionary and open about his taste. And same with Sean. And no, I'm not going to clap for them again, I promise. Sean and Tim are two of the most loyal and steadfast friends of mine, but also pillars of my Deep Images community online, which is a Facebook film group that I own, has about 300 members, and they're just all great people. And I've only had to ban like 3 people ever. Well, one of those 3 people blocked me and banned the group um, because I said something, I dared say something favorable about actually 2 of them. The one banned me, what blocked me, and I had to drop them. And she'd been a friend for a while, a fellow Twin Peaks freak. And then a girl I was actually kind of considering getting involved with last year. I don't know what was wrong with me. She freaked out, and I had to block her from the group because the 2 of them. I dared say something favorable about a Serbian film, another one I've reviewed on this channel. And no, I don't have the new deluxe limited uncut version. I'm on the fence about when I can buy it because of my finances and the price. I don't know. We'll see. But I would like it. I have the slightly censored version. But I reviewed the uncut film in spirit when I reviewed it here. But I own the slightly cut version. But yeah, these 2 young ladies lost their mind because I dared say anything favorable. It was strongly inferred, suggested in my group that I was a supporter, an advocate, adherent to some of the foul acts depicted in this fictional story, and that disturbed me. But the woman that I was sort of kind of angling toward getting involved with, I had to just block her altogether because I realized she's a Bidenite, and I realized that, we were getting along pretty good, but her, not my radical far leftism, but her very staunch neoliberal conservatism politically made her impossible to deal with. She really, her mind seemed open when she was talking about sex and movies, but as far as social political concerns, it was tight, man. It was clenched shut. And it was stifling me. And when she rebelled against me on my own group and on my own page, at some length, even going so far as to text me afterwards and say, the fact you like a Serbian film at all is a deal breaker for me as far as us dating. Oh, okay. Oh, well. I don't know. I covered all this on my Serbian film review, I'm sure, so I'm just rehashing old gossip by this time. So anyway, let me go and try to figure out how I'm going to describe all these things that I talked about into a coherent little pitch thing. After I do the Star Trek stuff on TV Music, I'm going to do episodes, because by then they'll be out. I'm going to do episodes 5 and 6 of WANDAVISION, my current favorite running TV show. Not that I have a lot of current running TV shows that I'm into, but that's number 1. I went back and I watched Age of Ultron. I'll share some of my thoughts on that. I talked about Age of Ultron during my first WandaVision installment for necessary subtext. I went back and I rewatched Age of Ultron since WandaVision has started, and I've got a lot of fresh ideas about it. Overall. So when I talk about WandaVision next, it'll probably be the correct time and place to share those ideas. I'm going to try to make another whack at Avengers Endgame soon. I've seen it twice before. I've had wildly varying thoughts about it. I wouldn't mind owning it one day, but I haven't really been in a rush to get it. I mean, it is like the highest grossing film in the history of all humanity. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think I need to clamor for it like a Serbian film. So on that note, take care. I'll see you soon. Thanks. Oh, thanks for everything. Anyone else I need to shout out to? I took care of that. Subscribe. Please subscribe if you can or want to. Please thumbs up if you like anything at all about my videos, because, and I do this too. I dig in and I start watching a video and I like it. I might even comment on it, and I've subscribed, and then that's that. Then I go back and maybe see that person's stuff, and see that video, and then I've noticed that it's not red where the thumbs up thing is, and I'm like, oh, I wonder why I didn't thumb up this video. I loved it. And it's just I forgot. I literally just, some of us aren't geared toward thinking that way, and I think quite a lot of us aren't, and a lot are. Not on my channel yet because I don't really have much of a following, but I do appreciate all of y'all. All I ask though is please give me more thumbs ups or some thumbs ups, just so I know that you're watching. I just really need to know that you like or dislike what I'm doing. If you dislike what I'm doing, I guess you can thumb down it. I've never had any thumbs down on any of my current era videos these last 4 months since I've gotten down to it full time. I did have some, I had a kind of barrage of thumbs downs when I did some of my unboxing Blu-ray videos a couple of years ago because I just divorced myself from a particularly obnoxious Facebook film group that I used to co-moderate, and where I made a lot of good friends, and a lot of them are in my film group now. And then I made some, I don't want to say enemies, but people I would avoid. I do avoid. I aggressively avoid. But I let them be. Instead of leaving me be, though, they kind of like did that bombing on my videos, and like, so I've got like a video that maybe and these were early on and they've been up a while, so this is why. I mean, most of my videos now don't have a lot of views yet, but these videos say 100 people like, because they were short and topical. Say 100 people or so or more have liked these videos, but then you have like 1 to 3 thumbs ups and then like 5 to 8 thumbs downs. So I have a net loss going because of these bitter motherfuckers from this silly group, which I don't even know if it still exists. On that rather hostile note, I'll take my leave finally. And thank you. I'll see you soon.